The world often dismisses those who appear to do little, labeling them as lazy. We often misjudge them, failing to see their true nature.
There's a big difference between a resting body and an active mind, which most people overlook. An ancient debate questions whether wisdom or strength prevails. Smart thinking often succeeds where pure strength fails.
We're taught hard work leads to success, like 1% inspiration and 99 perspiration.
But there's another truth. Work smarter, not harder. Blind effort can exhaust you without achieving much.
This story is about a boy mocked by his village who eventually found himself before a king.
While strong men struggled with impossible tasks, the boy observed quietly, changing his family's destiny forever.
Have you ever pushed through a problem with sheer effort when a simpler, thoughtful path existed? Stay till the end. You might view lazy people and even yourself with new eyes. Long ago, in a small village, a young boy lived with his mother and father.
He was known as the laziest soul in the village. While other children worked from sunrise to sunset, this boy did as little as possible.
His only task was to protect his father's rice crop from birds, but he refused to do it like other boys. The other boys ran through the fields, shouting with sticks and clappers to scare the birds.
This boy, however, built something different. Tall wooden poles strung with ropes, cloth, gourd.
He built a small shaded roof and would lie there, holding a single rope.
With a small tug, the bells would jingle, cloth flutter, and gods knock, scattering every bird in fright.
Villagers shook their heads, calling him lazy, saying he'd never amount to anything. But while he rested, the boy was always watching the birds.
He learned their patterns, when they came, how they moved, landed, flew, and which sounds scared them. He could close his eyes and identify birds by their chirps, having memorized their sounds. But the village only saw a lazy boy.
His father worried at night. Who will care for the field if I fall ill? Who will feed us? A cruel summer brought drought. The rains failed, the earth cracked, and crops withered.
One morning, his father didn't rise, struck by a heavy fever. The field's burden fell on the son's untrained shoulders.
The boy carried water from the well but drank it himself. He tilled the dry soil with soft hands but didn't. He wept under the stars, ashamed that his family's hopes were withering with the rice. The next morning, a royal soldier rode into the village, blowing his horn to gather the villagers.
He announced the old king was weary and sought a new, clever advisor through a 5-day competition. The winner would serve for life.
The boy's parents were brought to the palace. He stepped forward and declared, "I will go!" The whole village burst into laughter, mocking the lazy boy who would stand before the king. His mother looked with sad eyes, but his father smiled faintly, whispering, "Go, my son. Perhaps
On the first day, contestants faced a wide lake. Only the first 50 to cross would advance.
The horn sounded, and hundreds of young men plunged into the churning lake.
The boy didn't jump. He observed the lake and surrounding trees, then calmly gathered logs and vines. He pushed his raft into the water and paddled steadily, passing gasping, floundering men, finishing well within the top 50. On the second day, the 50 survivors faced 50 massive wooden blocks, each to be moved a kilometer. Only strong men chose ropes and planks, heaving and dragging their blocks inch by painful inch.
The boy walked past the ropes and levers, selecting an axe, chisels, and a mallet. He patiently shaped his block in. Once finished, he gave his roller a gentle push. It turned smoothly, easily passing the straining contestants, and he.
On the third day, the remaining contestants had to fill 25 large stone tanks with water from a distant well, using.
Strong men ran back and forth, sweating heavily and spilling water with every stride. The boy walked to a stack of bamboo poles, splitting them lengthwise with a small blade to create hollow troughs. He laid the troughs end to end, building a narrow channel from the well to his tank, carefully sealing the joints with wet clay. He tilted the channel, pouring water into the high end, and watched it flow smoothly and steadily into his tank.
On the fourth day, the challenge was to ring a small golden bell atop a tall stone tower, using thick, dangling rope.
Strong climbers hauled themselves up the ropes, while acrobats scaled the cracks between the stones.
The boy chose a tall wooden bow and a feathered arrow from the tools. He climbed a nearby flat roof, aiming carefully across. With a long breath and a clean release, his arrow soared, striking the bell squarely.
On the fifth and final day, the last 5 contestants were led into the king's private garden, where the king watched from a canopied seat. A royal keeper released the king's most prized crimson garden bird. The rule was to catch it gently, without harming a single feather.
The other 4 contestants grabbed nets and poles, shouting as they chased the darting bird. The more frantic they were, the higher it flew.
The boy didn't chase. He scooped grain into his palm, filled a clay bowl with water, and then began to chirp us. The crimson bird stopped fleeing, tilted its head, and, drawn by the familiar melody, softly dropping.
It pecked happily, drank, then settled. The boy gently closed his fingers around it and walked calmly back to the king.
What followed astonished everyone. The king walked with the boy to the open ground where the entire kingdom had gathered.
The king declared, "Strength can be hired, speed trained, wealth inherited. But the eye that sees the simple..."
Such a mind is not just meant to stand beside a throne, the king proclaimed. It is meant to sit upon one.
The king then brought forward the boy's parents, embracing them. He announced the boy would be his personal advisor, marry his daughter, and be the rightful successor to the throne. Royal trumpets sounded, and the crowd erupted in cheers. The boy's parents, once despairing, the king sent physicians to cure the father and farmers to restore the field. The villagers, who once laughed, his father smiled, explaining that his son was never lazy. He was watching, listening, and waiting for the right moment.
The future king, with calm eyes, always paused, thoughtfully analyzing problems before offering solutions no one else had seen. This story holds a truth often missed. We live in a world obsessed with constant motion, admiring those who have.
But is everyone moving fast actually achieving anything? And is everyone still truly doing nothing?
The boy observed and thought before acting, always seeking a different way, thinking outside the box. The others were too busy straining to see the simple solution. The boy earned his wisdom by listening. Pure muscle without thought is exhausting. Pure thought without action is just a daydream. Extraordinary lives happen when both meet. Remember, a lazy mind wastes talent, but a determined heart transforms it. The boy's body seemed lazy. Laziness may bring regret. This story highlights the quiet power of necessity. The boy invented solutions when there was no other choice.
Be part of the solution, not the problem. Solutions come from stepping back, observing, and finding. Open your eyes and mind. The simpler path awaits the quiet, wise heart. Great achievements once thought.
Share your most powerful lesson from this story in the comments.
Until then, be patient,
Stay grateful and remember, the loudest, strongest path isn't always the right one.